The Fantastic Mr. Fox changed my life forever. This kid's movie is about a fox going through a midlife crisis as he juggles his societal obligations with his deepest passions. Having a passion in life is one of the most rewarding and fulfilling aspects of being human. As children, it's not uncommon to have rose-tinted aspirations of space travel, saving lives, or painting masterpieces. However, sometimes the harsh reality of life puts a halt to those ambitions, whether that's your partner telling you that they're expecting a child,
I'm pregnant.
or a global pandemic shutting the world down during some of the most formative years of your entire life. My early 20s fell victim to this very harshness, as my 21st birthday coincided with the first 6 months of the COVID-19 pandemic. Due to these unprecedented conditions, I was forced to drop out of college, I lost my dream job at the time, and I moved back in with my parents for the foreseeable future. At face value, it seems as if my entire life came crashing down, and in most ways, it did. However, when I reflect back on my journey up until now, there's been one constant: my dream to create. I've been creating some form of art since I was 16 years old, and now as I write this script a month before my 25th birthday, and as life starts to seemingly come together in front of my very eyes, I think back to all that has led me to this point.
Who am I, Kylie?
Who, how? What now?
Why a fox? Why not a horse or a beetle or a bald eagle? I'm saying this more as like existentialism, you know? Who am I? And how can a fox ever be happy without you'll forgive the expression, a chicken in its teeth?
1 year ago, I watched The Fantastic Mr. Fox for the first time. This movie resonated with me in a way that no other film has ever done before. I had never related to a character's struggles in such a profoundly similar way that I have with Mr. Fox, a man who has been living a life of appeasement that he knows will never bring him true joy. I too wondered how I could ever be happy without my dreams being realized. I was desperately searching for the chicken in my teeth, so to speak. Throughout my early 20s, I spent a lot of time working random jobs that never really went anywhere, and I had thrown around the idea of going back to school more than a couple of times. Nothing ever really jumped out at me as the winning idea, because everything I thought of felt like an admittance of defeat to what I truly wanted to do with my life.
I don't want to live in a hole anymore. It makes me feel poor.
We are poor, but we're happy.
Come see, come sa. Anyway, the views are better above ground. Honey, I'm 7 non-fox years old now. My father died at 7.5. I don't want to live in a hole anymore, and I'm going to do something about it.
As I've aged, the ever-growing pressure to have that career or to be at some fictitious benchmark that I place for myself has only gotten more prominent. This type of thinking has led me to waste a lot of time chasing money or opportunities that never really felt quite right. I may have been paid well or have an amazing work-life balance, but one critical piece was always missing: fulfillment. No matter what I did, nothing ever seemed to give me that fulfillment that I was so desperately seeking after. Wanting more is a completely natural part of being human, and so many choices that we make all throughout our life are contingent on wanting the nicer car or the bigger house or a career that fulfills you. But what happens when that want and desire makes you incapable of doing anything else? What happens when it makes you ignore your lawyer, buy a house you can't afford, just to have the chance to do what you love just one more time? Faced with his own mortality, Mr. Fox succumbs to his midlife crisis and throws everything away just to satisfy his most innate desires. Mr. Fox, of course, is an extreme case of chasing your passion, but as someone who has chased and is currently chasing a lifelong dream of mine, his struggle is all too familiar. Around November of last year, I was fired from my job for the first time in my entire life. I drove home feeling a sense of defeat and confusion that I've never felt before. I parked outside of my house, and as I struggled with the next steps and where to go, one sentiment rose above all of the confusion and turmoil: I'm not ready to give up just yet. I knew what I wanted to do with my life. However, no matter what I did or what job I had, nothing ever compared to the life that I could envision for myself.
May I ask what you do for a living, Mr. Fox?
I used to steal birds, but now I'm a newspaperman.
Despite Mr. Fox's full-time job being a newspaperman, he still resonates with who he desires to be. The same way many people nowadays refer to themselves as a DJ or a painter, despite their full-time income coming from something completely different. There are millions of painters, filmmakers, and artists of all types stuck behind office desks and cash registers, and I know because I was one. After I was fired from my job, I decided to make my dream a reality. I was tired of the never-ending sidelining of my passions to appease some external pressures to be something else. I would gaslight myself to think that I could never be where I wanted to be because that's not realistic or it won't pay the bills. But in that moment, I had the realization that I was exactly where I was so afraid of being, and I did exactly what I was told to do. I had gotten a regular job that put food on the table, and in the end, I was unemployed with nowhere to go. So I thought to myself, if I can fail at something I don't want to do, why not spend all of my time at least failing at something that I do? I'm extremely grateful for the success over the past couple of months on this channel, but none of it would have came to fruition without a choice. A choice to finally take the leap and put those plans that I've ran through my head over and over again into action.
Oh, why'd you have to get us into this, Foxy?
I don't know, but I have a possible theory. I think I have this thing where I need everybody to think I'm the greatest, the quote-unquote fantastic Mr. Fox. And if they aren't completely knocked out and dazzled and kind of intimidated by me, then I don't feel good about myself. Foxes traditionally like to court danger, hunt prey, and outsmart predators, and that's what I'm actually good at. I think at the end of the day, I'm just...
I know. We're wild animals.
This scene is in large part the inspiration for the entire video, and what truly struck me the hardest when I first sat down to watch. Seeing Mr. Fox come to terms with his reality was cathartic. Watching the veil come down and seeing Mr. Fox battle with himself during a profound moment of self-doubt was eerily reminiscent to times in my own life. He even admits that if others around him don't validate his own self-perception, that he doesn't feel good about himself. Although Mr. Fox's desires are blatantly egotistical, it's what he confesses afterwards that truly struck the closest. It put into words a feeling that I've had for a majority of my life, and one that I finally now had a way to describe. The feeling of knowing who you are and what you can contribute to the world if you were able to just do that. Whether that be a fox that likes to court danger and outsmart predators, or someone who can paint the most beautiful paintings, tell the most imaginative stories, or create some silly little YouTube videos. Mr. Fox was born as just that, a fox. A wild animal destined to steal chickens and use his cunning nature to succeed. The same way that so many people are born as pilots or veterinarians that are living lives that don't align with who they are. This was and continues to be the defining challenge of my 20s, navigating through life and its various pit stops and sidetracks to eventually get to a point where I'm able to do what I love and love what I do, so that hopefully I never end up like Mr. Rat.
Y'all are trespassing now, illegally.
In one of the final conflicts of the film, Mr. Fox has his last encounter with Mr. Rat, the de facto security guard for Mr. Bean's cider storage. Mr. Rat is like Mr. Fox in a lot of ways. Most importantly is their preordained natures. Rats, much like foxes, are known for infesting suburban areas, breaking into food storages, and helping themselves, all while trying not to get caught. And like Mr. Fox, Mr. Rat had to make a choice as well, upon realization that a life of thievery will only end in an early demise. Mr. Rat's solution is to embrace the status quo and work under the same entity that previously threatened his very existence. In order to fulfill his basic needs, Mr. Rat embraced a life that provided, even at the cost of turning his back on his innate nature. After he's defeated, Mr. Fox asks what he's been chasing after all this time. Mr. Rat's response?
Cider.
I have always perceived the cider as fulfillment. Mr. Rat spent his entire life seeking fulfillment that was only ever half delivered. Sure, he was able to drink the cider, but at what cost? Being forced into a life that he wouldn't normally choose. But then again, what other choice did he really have, considering the alternative of death? After Mr. Rat's confession, Mr. Fox feeds him sewer sludge under the guise of cider. Mr. Rat is well aware that it isn't cider. However, in his final moments, he accepts it and is willingly fooled in order to finally get what he sought after for so long.
Black, melted gold.
Mr. Rat is the epitome of settlement. He immersed himself into a system that provided for him, despite not giving him what he truly desired. Even though in the end he was able to get falsely satisfied, he wasted his entire life doing just enough for him to get by, and to be fulfilled just enough to keep him in his place. But that begs the question, is that truly living? Mr. Fox said it best.
Redemption? Sure. But in the end, he's just another dead rat in the garbage pail behind a Chinese restaurant.
As I sat in my car after being fired from my job, questioning my next step, I noticed that it had started to rain. Hearing the thick drops of rain crash against the windows of my car, I was instantly brought back to the waterfall scene. And as I sat there, I started to think. I started to think about how badly I wanted to be the person that I knew that I could be, and how badly I wanted to do all of the things that I dreamed of for so long. The things that I was actually good at. I was tired of wasting all of my time at a job I didn't like, doing work that I wasn't proud of. And that's when I made the decision to not give up just one more time. I'm almost halfway through my 20s, and although extremely difficult, every challenge has made me who I am and has brought me to this exact moment of time. From me writing this script to you watching this video right now. But who knows if I would have ever made this video or even made this channel without watching a funny kids movie about a fox obsessed with stealing chickens. This video really doesn't have a purpose other than giving me an excuse to talk about one of my favorite movies, as well as share my story that hopefully someone out there can find some semblance of value from. The moral of this video isn't look at me, I'm so great, but rather that greatness is a choice. If I had any advice to give as I hit my mid-20s, it wouldn't be to throw your life away, ignore all your responsibilities, and max out your credit cards to chase your dream. That's horribly irresponsible. Instead, I would ask a question for you to answer for yourself. If you could do anything in the world, and things like money or whatever other reason that you could think of wasn't a factor, then what would you do? And if your answer doesn't align with what you're doing right now, then what's stopping you from changing that? Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. This is a really different video for me, but it's one that I've been wanting to make for a really long time. I hope that I was able to deliver on the quality you may have come to expect from my channel, and if this is your first time here, please subscribe if you enjoy anime and film discussions just like these. I have a couple other videos on my channel that if you enjoyed this one, there's a good chance you'll probably like those ones as well, so check them out. Thank you so much again, and until next time, later.